Now that we're in Flipgrid, this is basically the page that you're going to see when you first log in, and you'll see that it says My Grids. And essentially a grid is going to be the equivalent of either class periods or somehow however you want to group your students. So for secondary teachers, this might be split up into periods. For elementary teachers, it might be split up into subjects. So you can treat this however you want. But if we want to go ahead and create a new grid, I'm just going to hit Add New Grid here. And then essentially what's going to happen, you have to name your grid. So I might say this is Algebra 1, Period 1. Or you can name it whatever you want to. And then what we're going to do for our students, whenever we set these up, we're going to use school email. And what this does is it forces the students to log into their office accounts before they can do anything. This is a way of kind of protecting your grid from other people being able to see things or post things without you wanting them to do so. All right, so I'm going to click school email. And then I also have the ability to customize my URL link. So by default, it added this Bensing2655. So I think it just takes your last name and then adds some numbers to it. If you want to customize this, you could change that then as well. So in this case, I'll just let it go. Then on the next screen, you're going to get to a part. So we said that we needed to verify that we're actually using our student email addresses, so only our students can participate. What Flipgrid does is it pulls your domain from your email address, so it recognizes our @clsd.k12.pa.us. When we want to make it available for our students, we need to include their emails as well. And what's kind of tricky with this is there are actually two. The first one is the one that you typically see and you typically think of when you're working with students. This one is @hs1tone.clsd.net. So it's just @hs1tone.clsd.net. This one's pretty common that you'll see because this is what, if the students send you an email, this is what you'll see in that email. But there's also a Microsoft email attached to it as well. And with Flipgrid being a Microsoft product, sometimes it recognizes the student's Microsoft email rather than the one that we typically see. So we also have to include that in here as well. So just so you have it, it's @clsd.onmicrosoft, if I could spell, .com. And when I hit enter, once again, that'll just make it so it's an active domain. So ultimately, you should have 3 email domains when you set up your grid. All right. Once I have this, I will hit next. And then it'll give you this little like celebrating message. All right, our grid's ready. So to get started, ultimately what we have to do is we have to get the kids into our grid. All right. So there's a couple different ways to do this. The first way is to click copy for this link that it generates. You can post this into your Schoology course. You could post this into a message, like an email message or a Skyward message. But you ultimately have to get the kids to get to this point. Or your other option is if you have them go to the Flipgrid homepage, they could enter the Flip code. And if I would paste this in here, ultimately what the students would need rather than the full URL is just this Bensing2655. And then once they enter that, it would take them directly to where they need to go for it. All right. So the students would get this little login message. They'll click login with Microsoft. In my case, it should recognize that I'm signed in. We'll see if it gives me any problems since I'm already signed in as the teacher. All right, so I'm going to stay signed in, and then, all right, so here's what I see as the student. All right, so right now, it's showing as a student, I see this is my Algebra 1, Period 1. All right, it's telling me, all right, this is where I need to go. And the next thing we'll talk about is the different topics and how the students would actually use this then as well. So we'll stop here right now. But ultimately, we got our grid set up and we have a student in our class.